Hey friend, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, I am so happy that you are here. I'm about to talk to my friends who've been hanging out with me for a while. So if this is your first time here, listen to what I tell them because it goes the same for you. If you are a friend that is returning back, I'm so happy to have you. And you already know what we do around here. We go ahead and grab a journal because it is my goal that you have at least one takeaway. Get your socks on, your little fuzzy socks, get you some hot tea. Listen, you might be at work and you're saying, Robin, I can't put on any fuzzy socks, but I want you to lean in because, again, over here on this channel, I am committed to helping women just like you elevate not just what they do. What you do is important. How you show up as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a daughter, how you show up in the work you do, the calling that's on your life. All of that is important, what you're putting your hands to. But we are not only committed to helping you elevate what you do, we are committed to helping you elevate who you are as you do those things, who you are in your soul. I want to help you elevate every area of your life. Okay, so today, I am talking about a concept that I teach pretty frequently, and I use a visual, and I'm going to use that visual today. And I truly want you to lean in because I want to help you understand what it means to protect your capacity. Right? And so I have notes in front of me. Those of you who are new over here, you'll be wondering why I'm looking down. Is because I own the fact that I am a woman of a certain age, right? And I want to make sure that I don't fall victim to one of the dynamics that's a part of who I am, and that is my attention can be all over the place. I'm actually going to invite someone on for us to talk about attention deficit, particularly in the lives of women. We're going to talk about it. And so I have notes in front of me because if I don't look down at these notes, I'll be all over the place. And so, again, I want to talk about how to manage your capacity because have you ever felt like, wait a minute, I got some rest, but I'm still tired? Or you wake up and it is 10 o'clock in the morning, you're wondering why you're still tired and you haven't really done a lot. I'm going to explain it to you now. So go ahead and get ready for us to dive into this conversation. Okay, so the concept that I like to talk about is what it means, again, to manage your capacity. And I like to break down our capacity in the idea of currency. Yes, sis, your money. Because you know, honey, okay, let me tell you why I have these dollar bills. These fake bills, because I am committed to helping my daughters, particularly my youngest daughter, understand dollar bills. You know, they're swiping all the time. We're transferring via Cash App. And researchers have found that sometimes it's hard to understand how you're really spending money if you don't have the dollar bills in your hand. So that's why I have this visual readily available. Okay. And so when I talk about your capacity, I want you to think about your capacity in terms of currency. Yes, your money, because most of us don't play about that money, honey. So I want you to think about your capacity as currency. Now, when I talk about your capacity, I am talking about your emotions, your thoughts, your physical capacity. I'm talking about all the things. And often when I teach this concept, I've focused heavily on your capacity or your emotional capacity, but it's all the things, okay? So when I talk about capacity, I am talking about your emotions, how you are spending your emotions, your thoughts, how you are spending your thoughts, your physical capacity, how you are spending your time. So we are thinking about capacity in terms of currency, right? And what I want you to understand, are you leaning in? You only have so much capacity a day. You only have so much currency a day. Let's pause there for you to really take that in. I want you to understand that you only have so much capacity, so much currency a day. So this is $100, right? This is $100 of currency. So let's imagine you woke up in the morning and you have, what does the Bible say? See, I tell everybody when I minister, when I speak, that I am going to write a book called God Been Said That. Excuse the Ebonics. Do we still call things Ebonics? Excuse that, but I'm going to write it just like that. God been said that. Because a lot of times what we are hearing in pop culture, what we're hearing by therapists like me, what we're hearing from motivational speakers are things that are already in the Word of God. And the Bible says you wake up with brand new mercies every day. And so we don't want to worry about the grace and mercy we had yesterday. We need to deal with what we have today. So I want you to imagine you woke up this morning and you had $100 worth of currency, $100 worth of capacity. So you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do when you wake up, you stretch and you reach for that cell phone and you look at that cell phone and you see something that has happened last night before you went to bed that you missed, or you see something that happened first thing in the morning that has to do with national politics, and your nervous system immediately gets worked up. You immediately get frustrated. You just spent $20 worth of currency, worth of capacity, worth of your emotional, spiritual, physical, maybe not your physical, but your emotional and maybe your spiritual energy right there. So before you've even stepped out of your bed, you've already spent $20 worth of capacity. You haven't even gotten out of the bed yet. And then you get off of that app really quick because you're saying, you know what, I don't have time for that. But you look at your text messages and you have a text message from your supervisor and it is not even time for you to start work yet. And your supervisor has told you something, or maybe an employee has called off. Something has happened and you look at that text message and you're already like, my goodness. And again, your feet have not even hit the floor yet. And you just got worked up because now you got to figure out how to solve a fire as soon as you wake up. So now you've just spent another $10 of your capacity. So now we've spent $30 and our feet haven't even hit the ground yet. And so we're already at $70 left for the rest of the day. Remember, we only have so much capacity in a day. And so you get up and you go to wake up your child, and your child has an attitude and is acting like you are the problem when you were the one trying to get them up for school. And now that irritated you because you don't understand, why do I have to fight you to get up in the morning? If you had something fun to do, I wouldn't have to fight you. But you kind of understand it, but it irritated you. But now you just spent another $5. So now you haven't even left the house and you have already spent $35 worth of your capacity. Now you get in the car and you're driving to work and your spouse calls you and asks you a question. Did you do X, Y, and Z? And you didn't like his tone. You didn't like how he sounded. And so y'all get into a little argument. And now y'all are going back and forth. You're frustrated because you didn't like how he said that. And he's always trying to put something on you when he's supposed to be handling it. And y'all go back and forth and you're tired of it. You're sick of it. And by the time you get to work, to the office, you just spent another $20. Do you see where I'm going? You haven't even fully gotten through your day. And let's see how much capacity you have left. We have 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We have not even gotten through half of the day. We haven't even gotten through the morning, and we only have $30 worth of capacity left. And then you have to go through your day. You have to deal with that coworker. You have to deal with that coworker or that boss or that employee. You still have to deal with the things that you were supposed to do for your mother that you forgot. You absolutely forgot. You promised her you would do that. And then your friend calls you and your friend is having a challenge and that's your girl and you want to have her back. So you're trying to help her sort through those things as well. And then you are thinking about the ride home. My goodness, I got to sit in that traffic. So you wonder why you get to the end of your day and you have very little capacity left. You wonder by the time you get home, you still got some things to do and you got $1 of capacity left. And so by the time you get through your evening and you finish cooking the dinner, or you finish folding the laundry, or you finish doing that project that you still had to do from work, now as you're going to sleep, you have nothing left. And as a matter of fact, you're in overdraft and you're wondering how it happened. Listen, I want you to understand that that is what I mean about managing your capacity. Managing your currency. Here's the deal. You are responsible for managing your own capacity. You are responsible for determining how you spend your emotional energy. You are responsible for determining how you show up in your relationships. You are responsible for determining who has access to you when. You are responsible for building that wall to ensure that you are not just, or maybe not a wall, let's not build a wall. You are building a door to determine just because something knocks at the door doesn't mean it gets access in. Now, you know, I like to give you both a clinical and a spiritual perspective. And so there is a theory called cognitive load theory. And what that suggests is what I'm talking about right now, that we have limited processing capacity. And so if you're taking it all in, have you ever heard of compassion fatigue? If you're taking it all in, especially before you even get started in your day, no wonder you are exhausted. There's other research. I want you to look up the research from the National Institute of Mental Health, and it shows that when we're constantly stimulated, it keeps us in a consistent low-grade stress pattern. Have you ever heard of I know you have, of a low grade fever? That's what I'm talking about. It keeps you in this low grade stress because you're constantly being overloaded. One of the things, if you've been rocking with me for a while, you know that you've heard me say, you only have so much capacity. Your soul has a capacity. Your soul can only carry so much. And if you aren't determining slowing your life down, say it with me, y'all know what I'm going to say, slow your life down long enough to pay attention to your soul. You are wondering why you get to the middle of your day, why you get to the end of your day and you're worn out. It is because, sis, you may not be managing your own capacity. Don't worry, stick with me. I'm going to tell you how to do it, but I got to make sure I keep laying this foundation because some of y'all are going to say, Robin, no, I don't agree. That's okay. I'm going to keep showing it to you. So we talked about the clinical aspect of it, and I'm going to talk about in just a minute the faith aspect of it, but I want to also tell you some examples of how that shows up, right? When you are not managing your capacity effectively, it shows up at you snapping at your children. They say one little thing and you're snapping, and you then have to go through the spiral of feeling guilty. Then you got to talk yourself out of feeling guilty because they shouldn't have said it in the first place. And you keep yourself on this emotional turmoil of guilt and shame and embarrassment. Or it shows up with avoiding your spouse. You don't even want to have the conversation, so you just avoid it because you are already worn out. It shows up in you not having time for the things that you love and enjoy. You want to go out with your girlfriend for lunch. You want to go out to dinner with your girls, but you're just too tired. You're just like, I just don't have anything. And you're wondering why you find yourself constantly putting yourself on the back burner because you don't even have the currency or the capacity to deal with what matters to you. I know, girl, I've come down your street. I've come around the corner. I've pulled into your driveway. I've lifted that mat up. I've gotten the key from under the mat. I've come in your house and I'm sitting on your couch. I already know. I want you to learn to manage your capacity so that you can operate with great confidence, that you can operate with great clarity. Listen, this doesn't take all of your problems away. Over here, we are emotionally mature. We're building up our emotional intelligence. We're strengthening our spiritual sensitivity. And we understand that there is going to be challenges in this life. There is no such thing as a problem-free life. But what we are talking about is how do I, in the midst of the reality of life, in the midst of even those seasons where life is lifing, how do I find peace? How do I find joy? How do I embrace happiness? You have more power in that than you believe. Now, let me give you some scripture because some of you are saying, sure, Robin, I understand, but y'all understand Bible. Proverbs 4 tells us, above all else, say it with me, saints. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Everything you do. God is saying you have to protect your heart. Invite me in to protect your heart. Guard your heart with all diligence because out of it flows the issues of life. It is your responsibility to lean into the Spirit of God so that you can know, how do I guard my heart? How do I guard my heart without creating a wall that keeps everybody out or that keeps all the good? Because some of you are calling yourself guarding your heart, but really you are self-protecting in a way that God has not asked you to. We want to guard our heart through the Spirit and not through our trauma. And then Luke 5:16, I love this one. It says, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. In other words, he just drew away for a moment so that he could gird himself up, so that he could strengthen himself, so that he could then have the capacity to serve. One of my other favorite scriptures, I believe it's in John. And it says, Jesus, weary from his travel, sat down by the road to rest. Since if Jesus got weary from his travel and sat down to rest, surely you and I need to as well. In other words, it is your responsibility to guard your capacity. I want you to guard it. I want you to protect it. I want you to budget out your capacity. So here's the deal. When I talk about this, I'm dealing with two different types of women. One woman is the woman who is blaming everything and everybody else for what's going on with her. Now, listen, you may not even realize this is you, sis, so lean in. I got your back. Take a deep breath. There's no judgment over here, baby. We listen and we don't judge. We might side-eye you, but we're not judging you. I'm dealing with two different types of women, and you may not know you're the woman who projects everything on everybody else. You may not even realize that that's what you're doing. That's why we got to pause and pay attention to our life. So what do I mean by that? When you feel triggered, you're automatically saying, because my kids, my work is so hard. You're blaming everybody else. And I want to speak to that for a moment, because when I have these conversations, I want you to hear me. I am not saying that the people out there or the situations out there have no impact on what's going on with you. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not even trying to take away those people and their responsibility or the truth of what your irritant is. I'm not taking that away. What I am saying, though, is that it is your responsibility to determine how you are going to respond. You are responsible for your own emotional response. And the reason why you're going to understand that is because if you have children, nieces, godchildren, or anything along those lines, and they came to you and said, they made me do this, you're going to redirect them and say, nobody can make you do anything. Well, sis, that goes for you as well. We have to recognize that we are responsible for how we respond, how we show up, how we manage dynamics so that we aren't spending $20 on something that really only deserved $5. But then I'm also talking to the other woman, to another type of woman. And this woman is the woman who blames herself for everything. You take it's always you. You're always the one. You're always to blame. And I want you to understand the same goes for you, sis. You have to know what's your stuff and what's not. I love using the analogy of a colander, a strainer. And when you're cooking, maybe you're cooking spaghetti and you put the pasta in the strainer to get rid of all the water. I want you to get that visual. I'm always using visuals. I want you to get that visual, and I want you to understand that we need to put the stuff in the colander, shake it, and get rid of the stuff that's not yours. You do have some responsibility, but all of it isn't on you. And I want you to be able to do this. Manage your capacity, manage your currency, know what you're spending on so that you can know what's your stuff and what's not yours. Okay, so let's dive into what you can do. I think I want to give you 5 strategies, and I'm going to go through these very quickly. Let me see what time. I'm going to go through these very quickly. Okay. These are 5 practical strategies. So if this is resonating with you, if you're like, Robin, girl, I get it now. I understand. No wonder I end up at the end of the day exhausted, because before I even get started in my day, I've already spent $25, $30 before the day even gets started. So I want to give you 5 specific things that you can do. And then I have a resource that might be just what you're looking for. Okay, so the first thing you can do is I want you to start your day with a budget. I want you to start your morning with a budget. When you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night. Let's do that. I want you to go to bed at night with a budget, an emotional, mental, spiritual budget, so that you know what you're spending in the morning. What do I mean by that? I want you to say, you know what, in the morning tomorrow, this is how I want to start my day. When I wake up, I want to grab my journal instead of grabbing my phone. And I want to write out a quick prayer. I want to call, when I wake up in the morning, before I even open my eyes, when I realize I'm awake, I want to take a deep breath and then lower my breath. I'm going to take a deep breath and ask the Lord, guide me today, God. Strengthen me today, God. Show me what you're asking for me today, God. Show me what you want me to release. Start your day with a mental budget. Already begin to identify ways that you can guard your heart, guard your capacity, guard your mind, guard your thoughts. Start with this is a practical strategy that you can do immediately today. Tonight, when you go to bed, you can write out how you want to start your morning, what you want to focus your attention to. Write it down in a journal and be intentional. Number 2, I want you to use a consistent currency check-in. I love alliterations. A consistent currency check-in. Throughout the day, I want you to pause and pay attention to what you are feeling. How do you need to make sure that you're pouring back into yourself? What have you spent your capacity on? Where do you need to be refueled? I want you to do a consistent currency check-in throughout the day. Don't just live on autopilot. Stop and say, okay, how am I feeling? What's going on? How am I doing with spending my currency? And then number 3, I want you to create some no spend moments. Remember, we're thinking about our capacity in terms of currency, and I want you to have some no spend moments. Look, I ain't spending, for the next 5 minutes, I'm not spending any currency. I'm gonna set my alarm for 5 minutes. I'm not doing anything for 5 minutes. Let me just center myself. Let me check in with God. Let me check in the spirit realm. Let me pause so I want you to have no spend zones or no spend times. I have 2 more for you, okay? I want you to begin to build emotional margin. I want you to begin to build emotional margin. In other words, I talk about this like have transition time. Before you go into the next thing, give yourself some transition time, right? Schedule maybe when you get home. This is how I do it. When you're coming home and you know it's going to be crunk once you get in the house, maybe pull over at the gas station and turn on a song that you love. Flip through I have a folder in my Instagram that are things that make me crack up. Look at that for a minute. Have some transition time so that you have some emotional margin between the next activity. Baby, these strategies are things you can do right away. I have 1 more. I want you to be clear. I want you to name what's yours and what's not. Name what's yours and what's not. Listen, you don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to get everybody straight. You don't have to defend yourself all the time. This is what I mean by building your emotional resilience. You got to know, okay, yeah, I got to take responsibility for that. I should have responded. I want you to be careful about shoulds and should nots. I wish I would have responded differently about that. I want to apologize for that. Or, you know what? I know that it doesn't make any sense for me to even try to address this with this person. I've tried to address it in the past and it just did not go well. I have to release it. I want you to learn to practice unconditional positive regard. I want you to practice unconditional release. I want you to know what is yours and what's not, and that takes intention. Okay, sis, I hope you are getting this. If this has helped you, I want you to share it with somebody. But I have to say this. Remember, I told you there was a resource that I wanted to share with you. If you've been rocking with me for a while, you've heard me talking about the I'm Not Okay and That's Okay virtual experience. Well, it already took place, but I created this as an opportunity for women moving forward to pause and pay attention to their life. I created the I'm Not Okay and That's Okay experience because I wanted to help you do what we just talked about. See, so quickly you're reaching and trying to call everybody else to term or call everybody else out, or not even call them out. Point to them as the reason you're feeling whatever you're feeling. And I want you to know what is yours. I want you to understand your personal dysfunctional pattern. I want you to know your strength sabotage. I want you to know the strategies to work on your nervous system. I want you to understand what the Bible says about your faith and your emotions and your feelings and how those go together. And all of that is what you will get if you invest in the I'm Not Okay and That's Okay workshop course. experience. It is available right now for you to invest in. It is going to be a game changer for you to slow your life down long enough to lean in to what's going on with you so that you can learn how to manage your emotional capacity. Okay, girl, I think that's it. Let me look at my notes. Yep, I think that's it. That is everything I wanted you to understand. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go ahead and subscribe. The link to invest in the I'm Not Okay, and that's okay, virtual experience is right in the description. I want you to share this video so that we can continue to elevate not just what we do, but who we are. I'll see you next time.